Young black boy helps millionaire with flat tire. What happened next changed his life forever. Jamal was only 14 years old, but he had already learned the value of hard work. Living in a small, rundown neighborhood on the outskirts of Atlanta, he spent most of his free time helping his mom take care of his younger siblings while she worked at jobs. Life wasn't easy, but Jamal had a heart bigger than his struggles. One hot summer afternoon, as he walked home from school, he noticed a sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled over on the side of the road. The car's hazard lights blinked, and a well-dressed man in a tailored suit stood beside it, looking frustrated. He was on the phone, pacing back and forth, but from the look on his face, Jamal could tell something was wrong. Jamal hesitated. He had seen fancy cars before, but never this close. He didn't know much about fixing cars, but something inside him told him to help. He took a deep breath and approached. "Hey, sir, you need some help?" he asked cautiously. The man, who looked to be in his late 40s, sighed. "Flat tire. Tow truck's gonna take forever." He glanced down at Jamal, his expensive watch glinting in the sun. "You know anything about cars, kid?" Jamal nodded, "A little. My uncle taught me how to change a tire last summer." The man raised an eyebrow. "That's so?" Without waiting for permission, Jamal set his backpack down and got to work. He retrieved the spare tire from the trunk, loosened the lug nuts, and swapped out the flat like a pro. Sweat dripped down his forehead, but he didn't complain. When he was finished, he wiped his hands on his jeans and looked up. "All done, sir." The man seemed impressed. He checked the tire, then looked back at Jamal with curiosity. "You're a hard worker," he said. "What's your name?" "Jamal, sir." "Well, Jamal, I owe you one. What can I do for you?" Jamal thought for a moment, then shrugged. "Nothing, sir. Just glad I could help." The man chuckled. "Not many kids would stop to help a stranger. That says a lot about you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "Tell you what, if you ever need anything, call me." Jamal took the card and read the name, Marcus Reynolds. His eyes widened. The name sounded familiar. "Wait, you own Reynolds Enterprises?" Jamal asked, his voice filled with disbelief. Marcus smiled. Guilty as charged, Jamal knew exactly who he was. Marcus Reynolds was a self-made millionaire, a tech entrepreneur who had built one of the biggest companies in the country. People in Jamal's neighborhood talked about him all the time, how he had grown up poor and worked his way to the top. Jamal tucked the card into his pocket, thanked him, and went home, not thinking much of it. Days passed, then weeks. Jamal's life continued as usual: school, helping at home, and dreaming of a better future. But one evening, after a particularly tough day, he found himself staring at the business card. On impulse, he decided to call. To his surprise, Marcus answered. "Jamal." "I was hoping you'd call," Marcus said. "How's life treating you?" Jamal hesitated, then admitted, "It's tough, sir. My mom works 2 jobs and I try to help out, but sometimes it feels like we're stuck." There was silence on the other end. Then Marcus spoke. "I know that feeling," he said. "How about we change that?" The next day, Marcus invited Jamal and his mother to his office. He offered Jamal a mentorship, promising to teach him about business, finance, and life skills. More than that, he made sure Jamal's family was taken care of, helping his mother find a better job, paying for Jamal's education, and guiding him towards success. Years later, Jamal became a successful entrepreneur himself. He never forgot the day he stopped to help a stranger on the side of the road. Because in that moment, kindness had changed his life forever. Moral of the story: never underestimate the power of a good deed. You never know when one act of kindness will lead to an opportunity that changes your life. Under Marcus Reynolds' mentorship, Jamal's world expanded beyond what he ever imagined. Instead of just dreaming about a better future, he was now being equipped with the knowledge and tools to build one. Marcus took Jamal under his wing, teaching him everything from financial literacy to leadership, entrepreneurship, and even coding. "Wealth isn't just about money, Jamal," Marcus would say. It's about mindset. You've got to think like a problem solver, an innovator. Jamal soaked up every lesson like a sponge. After school, instead of hanging out on the streets, he spent time at Marcus' office, sitting in on meetings, studying business strategies, and learning from top executives. Slowly, he began to develop a vision of his own. But life wasn't without challenges. Despite his newfound opportunities, Jamal still faced adversity. Some people in his neighborhood thought he had changed and wasn't one of them anymore. Others doubted he would succeed. One night, on his way home from a late-night study session at Marcus' office, Jamal was confronted by an old friend, Darius. "So you think you better than us now?" Darius scoffed, leaning against a street lamp. "Hanging with rich folks, wearing nice clothes, acting all smart?" Jamal sighed. "Nah, man, I'm just trying to make something of myself. We all got the same 24 hours. What we do with them is on us." Darius laughed. "Man, that's some corny rich people talk." He stepped closer. "But let me ask you this, Mr. Entrepreneur, when you make it big, you gonna forget where you came from?" Jamal met his gaze. "Nah, bro. I'm gonna change it." That night, he made a promise to himself when he made it. He wouldn't just leave. He'd come back and create opportunities for others. By the time Jamal was 18, he had already launched his first startup, a mobile app designed to help students in low-income communities access free tutoring and mentorship programs. He called it Lift Up. Marcus was impressed. "You're not just building a business, Jamal. You're building a movement." The app quickly gained traction. Within a year, it was being used in schools across the country. Investors took notice. One day, at a major tech conference, Jamal stood on stage and pitched his idea to a room full of venture capitalists. "This isn't just an app," he said passionately. "It's a bridge between potential and opportunity. A bridge I wish I had when I was younger." When he finished, the crowd erupted in applause. That night, Marcus pulled him aside. "You've got the deal, kid," he said with a proud smile. "Investors are in. You just secured your first $1 million funding round." Jamal couldn't believe it. The boy who once fixed a flat tire on the side of the road was now a CEO, making deals with millionaires. Years later, Jamal stood in front of a new building in his old neighborhood. It was a state-of-the-art community center, funded by his success. Inside, kids had access to computers, financial literacy classes, business workshops, and mentorship programs. The sign above the entrance read, "The Lift Up Center, founded by Jamal Carter." Marcus stood beside him, smiling. "You did it, kid." Jamal shook his head. "We did it." As he cut the ribbon, he spotted a young boy watching from the crowd, wide-eyed and full of curiosity, the same way he once looked at Marcus years ago. Jamal walked over and handed him a business card. "If you ever need anything, call me." Because he knew, more than anyone, that one act of kindness could change a life forever. Jamal Carter's story became legendary, not just in his neighborhood, but across the country. Newspapers ran headlines about the young entrepreneur who turned a simple act of kindness into a multi-million-dollar movement. Interviews flooded in from major networks, CNN, Forbes, and even Time magazine, naming him one of the top 30 under 30 for social impact. But despite the fame, Jamal remained the same humble young man who had once walked home from school with nothing but dreams in his heart. Now, he had the power to help others dream bigger. One afternoon, as Jamal was reviewing expansion plans for his lift-up centers, his assistant knocked on the door. "Sir, there's someone here to see you," she said. Jamal looked up. "Do they have an appointment?" The assistant hesitated. "Nobody says his name is Darius." Jamal froze for a moment, then smiled. "Send him in." When Darius walked through the doors, he looked different. His once carefree, rebellious demeanor had faded into something heavier, something Jamal recognized as struggle. Jamal stood up and extended his hand. "Darius, man, it's been a long time." Darius shook it, but avoided eye contact. "Yeah, I saw what you've been doing. It's crazy, man. You really did it." Jamal nodded. "We all have the same 24 hours, right?" Darius smirked at the callback to their last conversation years ago. Then his smile faded. "Truth is, man, I need help." Jamal saw the sincerity in his friend's eyes. Darius had taken a different path, one that led him into trouble, bad decisions, and dead-end jobs. But now, he was looking for a way out. Jamal reached into his desk drawer, pulled out a lift-up mentorship application, and slid it across the table. "Fill this out. Let's get you started." Darius looked at the paper, then at Jamal. "You'd really help me after everything?" Jamal leaned back in his chair. "Of course. Someone helped me when I needed it. Now it's my turn to do the same." Darius blinked, then picked up a pen. For the first time in years, he felt like he had a future. Over the next decade, Lift Up expanded beyond the U.S., reaching underprivileged communities worldwide. From South Africa to India, from Brazil to the inner cities of Europe, Jamal Carter's mission wasn't just a business, it was a revolution. Governments partnered with him to reform education. Tech giants invested in his programs. Formerly struggling kids, just like Jamal once was, became doctors, engineers, artists, and entrepreneurs, all because one young boy stopped to help a stranded millionaire on the side of the road. Years later, Marcus Reynolds, now retired, sat in the front row of a massive event hall as Jamal prepared to take the stage. It was the launch of the Carter Reynolds Foundation, dedicated to providing education, mentorship, and entrepreneurship opportunities for young dreamers across the world. As Jamal stepped up to the microphone, he scanned the crowd, locking eyes with Marcus. "People often ask me how I got here," Jamal began. "And the answer is simple: one act of kindness." He paused. "A man once told me that wealth isn't about money, it's about mindset. And today, I want to pass that lesson on. Because if I've learned anything, it's this: when we lift others, we rise together." The audience erupted in applause. Marcus wiped a tear from his eye. He had always believed in Jamal, but now he realized something: Jamal hadn't just become successful. He had become a legend, and it had all started with a flat tire. A single act of kindness can create ripples that change the world. Help when you can, because you never know whose life and future you might be shaping. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments and subscribe for more inspiring content.